Hello. What? Hey!
I can't see anything back here. I'm gonna try and go around back.
Levi? Did you hear
Was
a
that?
voice?
Yeah, yes, I heard that sounded like it was right below our feet.
It sounded like a voice.
On February 25th, 2022, Tara from Tara Treks reflected on her miles across the Appalachian Trail, where shelters designed to feel safe often carried a heavier meaning. Her channel usually highlights through hiking and the steady rhythm of long-distance travel. But that night, she returned to the times when those wooden walls felt uncertain and trusting them became much more difficult.
Today, I'm going to be telling you guys why you should not be sleeping in shelters on the Appalachian Trail. I'm not here to bash anyone for choosing to stay in a shelter, and I do recognize there are a lot of benefits to actually staying in one. A shelter offers a quick setup and breakdown of sleeping materials, so that means more time on trail and less time at camp. A safe haven from the elements that can include lightning, downpours, really intense wind, or falling trees and branches. One of the top benefits, in my opinion, is that you meet people a lot easier. Every structure is built differently in a different area of the trail with different people who maintain it. I do believe the cons of staying in a shelter heavily outweigh the pros. I'm going to separate the reasons into two categories. We're going to have people, and we're going to have animals or other living things. Walking up to a shelter, you never really know who's going to be staying in it or who's going to come up a little later. If you are a thru hiker, you do have a good idea based on who is hiking around you. Weekend warriors, Boy Scout groups, section hikers, or guys who are a little down on their luck. This means you will be sleeping among strangers, and in my opinion, that makes me feel very vulnerable. Before I committed to a shelter, I would usually screen those that I didn't know. Obviously, I would do this in a non-weird or conspicuous way, just ask like a couple questions about their life and their plans of their hike or backpacking trip. There was one time though that asking a couple questions helped us determine that we were not going to be staying in a shelter. In 2019, James Jordan killed Ronald S. Sanchez Jr. at a campsite on the Appalachian Trail. Around 2 weeks prior to that incident, we did meet James Jordan at a shelter. After spending 15 minutes of talking with Jordan, we found him to be very mentally unstable. We decided that we would pack up our things and move along down the trail, even though it was hailing and raining. On a lighter note though, you may meet some seemingly nice people who might snore really loud, might have a really noisy sleeping pad, or who might get up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom. And you have a couple people turning and tossing in their sleep on their stuff. Some backpackers on the Appalachian Trail wake up early, or some come to a shelter a little later, which, again, can wake some people up. You also have to worry about a silent virus that is being passed among hikers that haven't washed themselves in days.
She opened with the night her group encountered James Jordan at a shelter only weeks before he would later kill hiker Ronald Sanchez Jr. They spent 15 uneasy minutes around him, enough time to feel that something was wrong. That quiet warning drove them back into the hailstorm, choosing their tents over sleeping near a man whose behavior seemed unstable. It was the first reminder that a roof does not always mean safety.
During my thru hike, we got caught in a freezing rainstorm in the Smoky Mountains. Luckily, we found a shelter and there was a couple people in there. By the end of the evening, we were pushing the limits of the shelter's capacity. When we left the shelter the next morning, we were fine, but as the following days progressed, one by one in our tramway, we were getting sick from a common hiker virus called norovirus. Norovirus causes inflammation of the intestines and stomach, which results in vomiting and intense diarrhea. Most everyone in our tramway got norovirus except for Smiley, who is a strict tent camper and did not stay in the shelter that night. Lastly, with a shelter and people is you don't get a lot of privacy, but you can kind of expect that when you're in the shared community space. So that's not a huge one.
Another memory came from the Smokies when icy rain pushed hikers into an overcrowded shelter. Dozens waded through the storm together, not knowing what was spreading through the tight space. By morning, nearly everyone who slept inside had been hit by norovirus, except the one hiker who remained outside in a tent. Sometimes the threat stays invisible, only revealing itself after the night is over.
All right, let's move on to the next category, being any other living thing like animals, reptiles, bugs, rodents, or problem bears that live near shelters because they know people will be staying there and there's going to be an amount of food there. We typically try to steer clear of those shelters, but even if you tent camp around the shelter, you're still going to have those bear issues. So it's not so much a shelter problem. The real problem creatures are not big bears, but instead small mice and rats that live in and around the shelters. Even if you do everything right, like hang your food up in a tree or put it in a bear vault, take every small little crumb out of your pack and put all your smelly things in that bear bag hanging in a tree, they're still going to bother you. One time during a section hike, a mother mouse and her babies decided my friend's bag, which was hanging, decided that would be a great nesting place for her and her babies. I once heard this horror story. A hiker was about to go to bed, so they put on chapstick, woke up, and a mouse was chewing on her lips. It's so gross. Mice and rats also carry a lot of diseases, and their poop can dry up, becoming dust. That's a really easy way for viruses or diseases to spread in the air. Snakes, spiders, and bugs were a minor issue in shelters.
Then came the nights controlled by wildlife. At Old Orchard, a bear circled for hours, even though food had been stored correctly. Mice chewed into packs settled inside hanging bags and seemed to take over the shelters after dark. She remembered hearing about a hiker who used lip balm, only to wake up with mice attracted to it. These moments strengthened her belief shelters offered convenience, but the price often felt too high. Crowded shelters can mix unpredictable strangers, sickness, and wildlife, creating dangers that comfort and convenience cannot always make worth it. When the trail turns silent at night, would you trust a shelter's walls or your own instincts to keep you safe? On September 22, 2025, Dawson Toller stepped into the deserted town of Elkmont, buried deep within the Appalachian Mountains. His YouTube channel follows real paranormal investigations handled with steady focus instead of exaggerated theatrics. Alongside Michael, he returned to the cemetery, the cabins, and the pieces of history left behind after the town had been cleared out decades earlier. Nothing strange had occurred yet, but both men felt the sort of silence that often comes before something they cannot fully prepare for.
So inside of this cemetery is Levi Trentham himself. Levi Trentham was known as a prophet. And in Elkmont itself, one of the buildings was his cabin, which I find that super interesting. So we're coming up to his grave to leave a couple offerings. That way tonight, potentially, he will want to have a conversation with us. So right here is Levi Trentham's grave. We're supposed to leave nails on his grave as a sign of respect, to hope that he will communicate with us tonight. So I'll leave it right here. So Levi, if you would be willing, tonight we're coming back up here and we're going to try to communicate with you. We would love to hear your story. We'd love to hear a prophecy that you have. We appreciate your time and you allowing us to be here tonight.
They started at the cemetery where Dawson approached the grave of Levi Trentham, a man once seen as the town's quiet dreamer. He set nails and screws on the headstone, a gesture intended to recognize Levi and invite his presence later that night. Dawson made a simple request, asking him to come back to the cabin they were about to enter. It was a small gesture, almost respectful, but something in the atmosphere suggested the night would not remain peaceful for long.
For this investigation, we're going to run the Ovilus. We'll set up a REM pod right here on the fireplace. Might be a good spot for it. So that right there is calibration. So we got the Ovilus running. We're going to throw it in dictionary mode. Levi, if you're here in front of your doorway, I have a music box. All you have to do is step in front of it and it'll go off indicating that you're here. Here on top of your fireplace, I have a REM pod. And if you walk up to it, this little black wire, and you touch it, it'll flash blue. Levi, if you're here, could you give us a knock or some sort of indication that you're here?
What is that?
I hear that too, like a knocking sound. Yeah, that was very loud. Actually makes me think maybe there's somebody...
Hold on. Guys, we're being quiet right now because we're trying to sniff out if we can see any sort of light, and I don't. Hello? Could you do that again, please?
If that is you, please speak to us. Is that you?
No. Did you hear
Was
a
that?
voice?
Yeah, yes, I heard that sounded like it was right below our feet.
It sounded like a voice, a man's voice.
Okay, I heard it just a loud dun.
Did you hear?
Was that? Yeah, yes, I heard that sounded like it was right below our feet.
Did you hear?
Was that? Yeah, yeah.
Did you hear?
Was that? Yeah, yes, I heard that.
Levi?
Stab.
Good timing.
Kim.
What was the second one?
Kim.
I don't think those noises we heard, if you were speaking to us through that device, and you intentionally...
Place.
Whoa. Said place?
Place.
Did you mean to say stab?
Lot.
Lot. Stabbed a lot.
Maybe.
Drag.
Couch. Traverse. Row.
It's weird that it's starting to say a bunch of stuff now. It didn't say anything for like 5 minutes.
Channeling. Already.
Channeling already? It's an interesting 2 words to come out like right after the way, and are you here with us? It's like I'm channeling already.
Inside Levi's former cabin, they set up their equipment with practiced ease, REM pod on the fireplace music box near the doorway, and the Ovilus running beside them. The first knock happened only moments after Dawson requested a sign, followed by a noise that sounded like a man's voice coming from under the floor. Then, the Ovilus produced words, stab place. Channeling each one, arriving flatly, yet changing the feeling in the room in a way neither man could dismiss. Their reactions remained calm, but their expressions suggested they understood the night was moving somewhere unexpected.
Let's head into this dollhouse. My name is Dawson.
My name is Michael.
We're just here to communicate. We're not here to scare you. We're not here to interrupt your playtime. Is there anything you would like to play with?
Cards. After.
Possibly cards after?
Soldier.
Soldier. Did you fight in any sort of war?
Casket. Appetite.
Did we encounter any sort of a casket while we were...
Not a casket.
I think we experienced, death masks and stuff.
At the dollhouse, the device changed again, giving another group of phrases, card soldier and Joe. Then suddenly, the mood shifted. Follow casket appetite. Dawson remembered their earlier stop at a crime museum and questioned whether something had followed them from there. The words offered no clear answer, yet both men felt the discomfort sink in more deeply than before. They never said it directly, but neither one seemed to feel alone as the investigation reached its quiet ending. Viewers pointed out how the responses seemed to connect with Elkmont's past, leaving questions about whether those messages were coincidence or traces of people once there. If so many people felt something unsettling in the Appalachians, what else could appear if Dawson ever goes back to that abandoned town? In September 2018, YouTuber Christina Lynn, known for her hiking and outdoor content, went camping in California. While hiking the John Muir Trail toward their campsite, what started as an exhausting trip slowly became an unsettling experience.
So I'm in my parents' garden and I am going to tell the scariest story. To give a little bit of context, called the John Muir Trail. It took us about a month to do, me and my friend. We backpacked the whole thing. The scariest moment happened about 1 week or so into our trip. We had been camping, just the 2 of us. We had been hiking for like 12 hours that day. We were really tired, so we went to go get a campsite, settle down, and maybe like find our camp a little bit earlier that day. So we kind of camped at a place that was like the side of the trail. We had camped pretty much all on our own, but it was on the side of the trail, so we were a little bit exposed to the other people who were passing.
She was not alone as a close friend joined her on the hike. Instead of picking a secluded area away from other hikers, they set up their tents directly beside the trail. At the time, it seemed convenient, but it would later prove to be a risky decision.
So we both had separate tents. We would set up our tents right next to each other, but we weren't actually in the same tent. We go to sleep, everything is going just fine. I want to say around 5 o'clock in the morning, I see a light outside my tent and I hear footsteps with the light, and maybe my friend's just going pee outside. So then the footsteps start slowly walking around my tent with the light shining into my tent. And later I was talking to my friend, she said she was doing the exact same thing in her tent, like hoping that it was me walking around and trying not to freak out, but it felt like a half hour. Like it felt so long. I was so frightened. And so I hear the footsteps get closer and then they stop at the outside of my tent right at the door. Like I just can't take it any longer. I'm just sitting in my tent like getting freaked out. So I unzip my tent. There is a man I do not know standing outside of my tent, staring at me. In the meantime, my friend is sitting in her tent and she thinks that he's unzipping my tent, trying to get in. So I'm like, "Who are you?" And he says, "I'm Jack." He doesn't say anything. So Jack kind of stares at me and he just gives me like the creepiest look, trying to act aggressive still, even though I'm like terrified in the meantime. He kind of just seemed like he was like in a daze. Like he just said, "Oh, I thought this was my friend's tent. On the side of the trail is his friend's tent. And even if he did, why would he try to get into it in the meantime?" So I was like, "Yeah, your friends aren't here." And then I zipped up my tent. So then I heard the footsteps slowly walking away from the tent. And I figured like, okay, I'm gonna be safe.
They went to sleep, and for most of the night, everything seemed normal. The forest stayed quiet and nothing appeared unusual. However, things changed when a man began acting strangely near their campsite. His behavior and explanation left both women unsettled, making them question whether it was an innocent misunderstanding or something more serious. The man eventually walked away, allowing them to rest again. But by morning, the women were disturbed by what they found, confirming that someone had remained uncomfortably close during the night.
So then I wake up the next morning and I talk to my friend and I'm like, "Oh my God," I unzip her tent. I'm like, "Oh my God, like what happened last night?" We look behind our tent and Jack is sleeping on the ground behind our tent. He's just sleeping on the ground behind our tent. So we kind of go up to him thinking like maybe it was all some big misunderstanding this whole time. "Were you looking for your friends?" He goes, "Ha ha ha. Yeah, looking for my friends." And then that day we hiked out off the John Muir Trail and I bought a knife that was bigger than my head to carry on me in my tent after that moment.
Unsure of the man's intentions, Christina and her friend quickly left the forest and ended the trip early. As people often say, the wilderness is not always the greatest danger. Sometimes people are the real threat. Thankfully, both women made it out safely. The man's behavior may have come from confusion or deliberate intent, but no clear answer exists. Do you think this was a misunderstanding or a dangerous situation avoided by luck? On January 1st, 2024, Belgian YouTuber Siaz uploaded a video titled "The Night I'll Never Forget" to his channel. From the opening moments, the video immediately creates a feeling of unease, beginning with a warning about the disturbing footage viewers are about to see. That alone sets the mood for everything that follows.
Ik ga deze video beginnen met een korte disclaimer. Het kunnen zeer schokkende beelden zijn als je deze video wilt uitkijken of niet. Ik heb iets heel heftigs meegemaakt, iets wat ik nog nooit in mijn leven heb meegemaakt. Dit kan alleen in films bestaan. Als ik het nu allemaal ga vertellen, lijkt het allemaal zo ongeloofwaardig. Dus jullie gaan alles gewoon kunnen zien, zelfs in deze video. Ik ben nu een tijdje stilgevallen met dagelijks vloggen, omdat ik dit gewoon even moest verwerken. Dat krijg ik er niet meer uit. Zo'n 6, 7, 8 jaar lang doe ik al urbex en bezoek ik al verlaten locaties en ook superveel in de nacht. Maar nooit zoiets heftigs als een paar dagen geleden in de nacht. Ik ga heel snel een beetje vertellen. Ik was met 3 vrienden naar een verlaten camping geweest midden in een bos, waar ik al 2 keer eigenlijk ben geweest. En de laatste keer was legit een jaar geleden. Een paar dagen geleden zijn we teruggegaan naar dat bos in de nacht, want dat is een super nice verlaten camping bungalow die ons absoluut niet in dat bos wou hebben.
Siaz explains that he and 2 friends decided to explore an abandoned bungalow park in Belgium. It was a place they had visited before without any problems, and nothing unusual had ever happened during previous visits. This time, however, the atmosphere felt strange almost as soon as they arrived, giving them the sense that something was wrong.
Privaat, dit is een plaats van gebed. Gelief onze ruimte respecteren. Gebed. En daar staat op: Pas op, waken. Mobile homes midden in het bos, allemaal verspreid, super vet. En ineens is hier een waakhond.
Je ook gewoon binnen.
Ja, dat is waar, want dat is niet afgezet.
Niks,
Hè? Als je verder parkeert en je wandelt hier binnen. Maar dat is hier veranderd tot een gebedding, want wat staat hierop? Dit is een gebedplaats. Dat is hier gewoon een zigeunerkamp of een hippie-camping of zo geworden.
Hallo?
Hoort je het? Die deur, die wint niet. Ik hoor zo...
Nee, dat was een beest.
Zeker?
Ja.
Dat is een deur, hè?
Hallo?
Kijk, de wind ook gaan, ja.
Waarschijnlijk zo.
Oh, ik hoor van alles hier. Dit is eng. Oh, maat.
Hallo? Mogen wij hier binnenkomen?
Wacht even.
Dit is zo creepy, maat. Ja, hoor. Hoor, daar ergens. Dat is daar rechts. Muziek, GBL Partybox on the go. Ja, maar maat, het zijn hippies of zo.
Nee, ja,
Die paal, dat kop ik in de hubo en ik stik die paal hier in de grond. Daar zie je een hutje. Dit hier, dat is een soort van hutje en er staat een fiets bij.
As they walked deeper into the area, they came across a barrier with a sign referring to a place of prayer. Already unsettled by the unexpected warning, they decided to keep exploring the site instead of leaving. It was there that they encountered something they would never forget.
What the f***? Dat is toch niet mijn auto of zo, hè? Hier, maat. Hier wordt letterlijk iemand gemarteld. Hier wordt letterlijk iemand gemarteld in dat bos. Daar schijnt licht, kijk. Daar schijnt licht. Dat is heel fucked. Dus, wat? Kom gewoon verder. Stel je voor, dat was mijn auto. Wat de f*** is dit, kerel? Ja, wat komt daar? Ik zie ze. Ja, die komt naar hier. Kom naar hier. Blijf gewoon hier. Lamp aan of niet? Hallo. What the f***? What the f***? Hey! Oh! Wat? Kom!
Without warning, disturbing screams echoed from deeper within the woods. The group immediately turned off their lights, and seconds later, they spotted a figure moving toward them. As the person got closer, they realized it was a woman carrying an axe. Panic instantly took over, and the three friends separated, running in different directions through the dark forest. Siaz eventually found a place to hide and managed to call the police.
Ja, wacht. Hallo? Nu naar hier komen. Fuck. Ik hoor u niet, sorry. We zitten hier in een bos in de Centerlo. We zijn hier in een bos en ineens komt er een man met een mes of zoiets op ons af. Ik denk dat mijn auto kapot is geslagen. En we zijn vies. Kom alsjeblieft heel snel. Oké, ik heb de politie gebeld. Ik heb de politie gebeld. Dus what the fuck is dit?
Later reports stated that the woman lived near the abandoned area and suffered from severe mental illness. The encounter left Siaz shaken for months afterward. Being chased through a dark forest by someone carrying an axe is the kind of experience that stays with a person forever. Mental illness may explain her behavior, but the danger was still very real. What would you have done in this situation? In 2022, a disturbing video surfaced on YouTube after being uploaded by a user exploring Google Street View. The user was virtually navigating through the city of Pripyat, an abandoned town in Ukraine near the Belarus border. Pripyat was once home to nearly 50,000 residents, many of whom worked at the nearby Chernobyl nuclear plant, before the 1986 disaster forced the entire city to evacuate. Today, the area remains abandoned, frozen in time, and recognized for its eerie landmarks, including the decaying amusement park and its rusted Ferris wheel. However, what the user discovered made the city feel far less empty than expected. In the footage, a woman can be seen standing behind a tree partially hidden by the metal structure of the Ferris wheel. The figure is subtle but clearly visible, almost as if she is deliberately avoiding the camera. What she was doing there, or why she appeared to be hiding, remains completely unknown. The moment feels unsettling, especially since a place like Pripyat is not supposed to have people living there. It raises disturbing questions about what may still exist in places believed to be abandoned. There is no clear explanation for her presence. Do you think some places are never truly empty? The video comes from the Northwest Wind, an outdoor adventure and stealth camping channel focused on solo overnight challenges in unusual locations. The creator documents real-time stealth camping attempts in urban or restricted areas, often showing the real risks involved when plans start going wrong. It is March 28, 2025, in a housing development in the United States.
Can you guys see? I don't know how well you can see. I'm behind a dumpster and more wood and stuff. And we're gonna attempt to sneak into this bad boy. Gonna turn off the light. Okay. Let me turn on the red light, actually. This is too much. Oh, that's too much. Stop. I'm telling the light to stop. I can't see anything back here. I'm gonna try and go around back.
Sam returns to a residential construction site for what he calls Stealth Camp 39, arriving after dark in hopes of avoiding attention. Almost immediately, a construction worker appears between two unfinished houses using a torch while loading equipment into a work truck. Realizing the site is still active, Sam backs away and parks his vehicle roughly half a mile away, deciding to return on foot instead.
Cops, 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 cops. Cops, cops. I gotta get the out of here. They're parked right there. They're 10 feet away. They're 10 feet away. He stopped right there.
While walking back along the main road, a police car passes twice, increasing his anxiety. He hides behind a construction trailer and a dumpster, waiting for the street to quiet down before slipping into one of the unfinished homes. Once inside, he drops his gear and carefully moves toward the front of the building to see whether the road is clear. Two police vehicles suddenly pull up near the property. From inside the house, Sam realizes officers are only a short distance away and that staying there could result in being caught. He quickly grabs his gear and runs out the back of the property toward the wooded area behind the development, completely abandoning the stealth camping attempt.
They're flashing the light back here now too. All right, this is I'm trapped. If I go back, the houses are right there. I can't go anywhere else. I can't go anywhere else. I'm trapped. I might get arrested right now. All right, let's just... Every step I take. Every step I... Oh, there's one of them. Okay, there's one of them. I'm on the ground. One of them is right at the border of the lines of the houses. My camera's flashing red because it's recording.
Trying to put more distance between himself and the construction site, he climbs down a steep ravine and crosses a shallow creek soaking his boots. Thick brush, uneven ground, and the cold conditions make the escape physically exhausting. But he continues moving until he reaches safer ground deeper in the woods. The stealth camping attempt lasts less than an hour and never becomes an overnight stay. Cold, wet, and exhausted, Sam eventually returns to his vehicle parked near a church and reflects on the night's events. The trip ends as a failed attempt, but also as a reminder that stealth camping in active residential areas can carry real consequences. If you were inside that unfinished house and saw those police cars pull up, would you have stayed hidden or run into the woods? The video was uploaded on September 8, 2025. Gaz and his dog Fendi headed into the woods for another overnight trip, returning to a campsite he already knew well. This time, however, a new landowner meant they technically no longer had permission to stay there. Even so, they settled in expecting a quiet and peaceful evening.
Apparently there's a new landowner. I did have permission before to camp and stuff here, but apparently they've sold up shop, so we'll see if he comes down later. I've forgotten how to do it. Forgotten how to do all this YouTube shizzle. And then we'll get some bigger stuff on once that's going. Whew. Smoky Joe's.
As darkness fell, Gaz started a fire, but the woods did not remain calm for long. Rocks shifted, nearby branches scraped through the darkness, and shapes appeared to move between the trees. The uneasy feeling slowly grew as he realized he was not alone out there.
Just heard a rock again in that stream. Do you reckon it's them American crayfish doing some star jumps or something and squats? Full of them in here. Signal crayfish.
Later, a large figure suddenly emerged, immediately sending his pulse racing, though it eventually turned out to be a cow.
Cows, look. Oh, they've got horns. Can you see them? They're there, Fendi. I didn't even hear him. Didn't even hear him come down. Oh, there's more.
Even after that, he continued noticing more shapes nearby. Standing in the middle of the woods surrounded by a herd in complete darkness felt far more unsettling than he originally expected.
They're going to be here all night because grass is just well long. We've got a buffet down here and they're just going to be bothering me all night. Oh, there's more here. Fendi, come here. Let me put her at lead. Is that your mum over there? Oh, there's some more down there. Right, come on Fendi, let's get out of here. You don't need to play with me, dog. It's alright. Chill, Winston.
Rather than risk another encounter, Gaz packed up his gear and relocated deeper into the forest to spend the rest of the night somewhere else. The wilderness rarely unfolds the way people expect, and sometimes the smartest decision is simply to move and let the night continue elsewhere. Maybe it was only livestock wandering through the area, or maybe it was the unsettling feeling of being surrounded in the dark. If you found yourself out there with no light around, would you stay calm and remain where you were, or quietly leave before something changed again? The disturbing video of the night comes from the How Raj, a UK-based paranormal channel focused on haunted locations and local ghost stories. It is January 11th, 2026 in a wooded area between Huntington and Bampton in the United Kingdom near Nuns Bridge, a place tied to long-standing folklore and unsettling reports.
So I'm actually shitting myself.
Yeah, we heard screaming on the way down. Is it a country park?
This is a country
It's
park.
a country park, so why is there screaming here?
No, I'm going to turn my
half
headlight
11
on.
at night, I don't know.
Can you see that ahead of me?
Yeah. I
Right.
think the glare on the camera's a bit... I can't see much, but... Hopefully you guys can see. I can't feel my
Right,
fingers.
I'm getting absolutely nothing on this.
Oh my gosh, you literally got a light on your head.
I'm getting absolutely nothing on this right now, which is kind of disappointing because I was hoping... Now, this is scary as shit, by the way. If I just look down there and I see a figure, I'm running, you're on your own.
Oh god. There's also like a little marshland down there as well.
Just look at that. That's something out of a horror film, that is.
Tell you now, if I see something, I'm running.
Yeah, me too. Right.
Right, nothing yet.
There's absolutely...
Need to summon her in a minute.
Yeah. We'll ask her some questions.
Yeah.
My hands feel like they're going to fall off.
Yeah, so my thumb's actually frozen.
Morgan and his girlfriend enter the forest beside Nuns Bridge. The ground is frozen, the air feels cold, and marshland surrounds the narrow pathways. The EMF meter shows no unusual spikes at first. Despite that, unsettling noises continue echoing through the forest. Although the sounds could easily be animals, the darkness and isolation make them feel far more disturbing than they normally would.
Are you trapped here? Do you wish to communicate? Give us a sign if you wish to communicate.
Nothing on here yet.
We'd like to communicate. Can you make yourself present?
That sounded like help me, actually.
Did it?
Morgan attempts communication using the spirit box. Several phrases come through that seem like possible responses, though he openly admits radio interference could also explain them. The uncertainty lingers in the air, creating a brief but tense moment as he listens carefully for anything clearer.
One here. Any ghosts here? Any spirits that wish to communicate with me? I smell dog poo. I genuinely smell dog poo. Which isn't good. That's probably the scariest thing I've thought tonight.
While standing alone, Morgan suddenly notices a strong smell similar to dog food with no obvious source anywhere in the cold, empty forest. The unexplained odor adds another unsettling element to the investigation. Sharp, unidentified noises suddenly cut through the night, followed once again by distant screams. The source remains unknown, reinforcing the eerie atmosphere surrounding the bridge and nearby woodland. As the investigation comes to an end, no visual apparition or definitive paranormal evidence is ever captured. Sometimes, Nights like this leave behind an uneasy feeling even when nothing clearly appears on camera. Quiet places connected to old stories can make every sound feel heavier than it really is. If you had been standing near that bridge, hearing those sounds in the dark forest, would you have continued investigating or turned back?